Hello, good morning, and welcome to this midday taste challenge. I was going to do it tomorrow morning, but I said tomorrow morning could be a little rushed, and I have a little time right now. I had the heater on. I turned it off. It's getting a little warm. It's warming up to the 60s. Only be about 62 today, but not a bad winter so far. Got down to freezing only 1 or 2 nights. I think we got about 28 more days when we could have a deep freeze. And once February gets here, that's really not going to be much. There really won't be much of a chance for that. These binders up here, I'm sorry about the clutter. That's my comic book index, which is been keeping this since, oh, I'm sorry, this is my scorebook. Been keeping that since 1988. You know, I write the games down. We write down the scores, make our picks. So we got that, all the playoff games coming up today. And then this is the binder for the comic book index. So you see, like, when I read the book, I write down what's going on. So like Batman, I'll write little annotations in case I need to look that up. Not that I ever do it. Like Superman from last year, number 45, I put leaving Hamilton when they left Hamilton. Whoever these people are supposed to be, this Superman and his wife and child, which is bizarre. And Superman, Batman, like number 13, new Supergirl, Darkseid, Heroes, cameo of Heroes. So just the index, just in case you need it, but it's not digitalized. It's just on paper. I don't know how I actually look it up. I don't have an index, but I just have it. That's the list. Okay, so in case you're wondering what all that is up there. All right, so got the college football championship subdivision national championship coming up in less than 30 minutes. Kickoff about 30 minutes. We'll look at that. We got the NFL playoffs today, January 5th, 2018, the 12th day of Christmas. I got all these other things to do, beer related. All right. Oh man. All right. Wait a minute. I should be wearing a different cap. That's all right. It's not all right. I should be wearing another variant. People notice these things. Yeah, but I'll do recorded videos with that. This jacket is so comfortable and warm, and it better be. It was $110. Still in good shape. $110 even, no tax added or whatever. So 16 years ago. Okay, all right. So we've got some old ones and another really old one. One old one. I'll go turn on the playback so we can look at comments if there are any. Bellows Club Whiskey. This is an unusual whiskey, let me tell you. Oh, man, it tastes like, it's not bad, like cheap, like horrible. It's just strange, like this peculiar, like full mouth feel and this unusual peppery spice. And I don't know where the pepper's coming from. I don't know what they're using. They're not adding pepper. Is it high rye? Bellows Club Whiskey. The Bellows Company was founded in 1830, one of the oldest whiskey companies in America, but it's no longer independent. It was bought out. These whiskeys in here, the straight whiskeys, 20% straight whiskey, are aged at least 4 years. This is back when it was under the control of Jim Beam. Are they adding straight Jim Beam to it? That is my assumption. Can I back that up? No, I'm not making a claim. I'm saying, here's my theory. All right. Do they make Bellows? Do they make Bellows straight whiskey? Straight bourbon whiskey? Yes. There is a straight bourbon whiskey. Where is it sold? Hey, look, I don't know. We don't get too many Luxco brands around here. We get Everclear. which I would be very careful to mess around with that. Okay, now we got T.W. Samuels, Heaven Hill brand these days. T.W. Samuels Company was bought out, same old story, age 36 months. I think in the notes I put at least 4 years for both. I'll adjust those. I was checking the trademark dates on this, and it literally goes back to 1844. So it's saying registered U.S. Patent Office, 1844. That is when it was registered in the U.S. Patent Office, this trademark, 1844. T.W. Samuels, one of the original whiskey companies in the United States, 1844. There is a straight bourbon whiskey from them as well, Heaven Hill, T.W. Samuels. Can we get the straight bourbon here? No, we get the blend. 80% grain neutral spirits, 20% straight whiskey. What's the 20% straight whiskey? Well, I think a thinking person would figure out that it's the straight whiskey added with the grain neutral spirits. Would I buy the T.W. Samuels bourbon if I saw it? More than likely I would. I bought a bottle of bourbon from my friend David. I bought Tom Sims, 3-year age, 80 proof. 4-year age, 80 proof. I cannot find out who owns Tom Sims. I saw an old photo. I saw a photo of an old bottle from the 1970s. There are 2 versions of Tom Sims today. A 6-year aged, 86 proof. A 4-year aged, 80 proof, straight bourbon. There used to be an 8-year aged, 86 proof Tom Sims. Who is Tom Sims? Can't tell you. Who owns Tom Sims? Can't tell you. Where is it made? Well, it says Claremont, Kentucky. Is that Beam? I don't know. They don't list it on the website. Does Beam Suntory have brands that they do not list? Yes. Could it be them? Yes. Could it be Sazerac? Yes. Could it be Heaven Hill? Yes, but unlikely because they tend to list all their stuff on their product specifications. Going on, does it really matter? No. Was it inexpensive? It was, yeah, more or less. Going on, I bought it at Feldman's Liquor in Texas. All right, okay, all right. I do get a little excited about these brands. If you ever noticed, it's all about the brands for me. You say, what about the struggle, the craft beer struggle? Yeah, well, forget the struggle. I don't care about the struggle. I always cared about the brands, the history of the brands, what's the makeup of the brand, what's the history of it. Since I started this channel in November 2010, that was my interest area. Brands and how they relate to other beer, wine, and liquor brands, okay? If you're looking for a great quest, Blows Against the Empire, this ain't it. If you're looking for somebody that's looking at different brands and telling you what they think, he thinks, this is it. All right. And then I have duo reviews oftentimes, and we'll tell you what we think. All right. Will I be able to tell these apart? I do believe so. The T.W. Samuels in Louisiana tends to be $8.99 per bottle. $8.99 across the board. Winn-Dixie, everywhere else, $8.99. Is it popular? North of Lake Pontchartrain in the Florida parishes, it's popular. And in the Baton Rouge area. In New Orleans area, no, it is hardly sold. We get the Heaven Hill Kentucky blended. And then if you go to those areas, which I just described, you won't see those. You won't see the Heaven Hill Kentucky blend. You see the T.W. Samuels. What about Bellows? Well, Bellows are bought an international market, and chances are you won't see that here, there, or anywhere else. I think the Bellows is darker. Is that Bellows? No, that's TWS, T.W. Samuels. Okay, it's a little more amber than gold, and this one's a little more gold than amber. But the differences are negligible. So we've got a 3-year aged versus a 4-year aged. They're both coming from Kentucky. T.W. Samuels, Kentucky blended whiskey. Now, what did I learn from reading the United States Liquor Handbook? If it says Kentucky, that's where it comes from. Okay, it's got to be distilled in Kentucky if it says Kentucky. If it says American, then that means it has to be distilled somewhere in America, but not necessarily where it was bottled. Oh, Now, if it was distilled in Kentucky, seems to me it would say Kentucky, right? Do they have distilleries outside of Kentucky? Yeah, like, you know, like Tennessee and even more than likely Indiana. But why nitpick? Central Arkansas at Southeastern Louisiana today, 4 o'clock Central Time. Will it be a good game? Well, it might be a good game. Will it be between two good teams? No, considering Central Arkansas has 5 wins in basketball and Southeastern has 4. Southeastern Louisiana has 4. A lot of these people will tell me, I'm a Saints fan. I'm a big Saints fan. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, let's see. Where were you 20 years ago when they were winning 4 or 5 games a year? I don't remember seeing you watching them on TV or talking about them. Oh, right. You weren't watching them. You were sitting outside talking during the game. You're not a fan. You're a bandwagoner. Are there lots of bandwagon riders in college and pro sports? Yeah, like most of the people who claim they're fans. You ever notice that when the team is down, the people are not around, and you can sit where you want by the other true fans, you know, that are there regardless. Now, when the team is winning, the place is packed. You can't hardly move. Yeah, we love our team. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, until they lose. All right. You say, that sounds a lot like marriage in America today. Right. I'm with you when I'm happy with you, and I'm gone like a pecan when you cross me in any way, shape, form, or fashion. We better not go there. I notice a lot of my Facebook friends have gone or are going through that particular experience, which might make them even more interested in examining multiple whiskeys multiple times upon multiple days. Anyway, I think that T.W. Samuels will be a little milder and have less character than the Bellows. But to be fair, I said this before more than once, that the T.W. Samuels did have more going for it than your average American or Kentucky blended whiskey. Has more of a bourbon flavor. Does it taste like a true bourbon? Well, no, because it's not a true bourbon, but it has some bourbon-esque characteristics. Can you buy a true bourbon for $8.99 a bottle? I don't really think you can, but you can get one for $9.99. Straight bourbon, like Ancient Age. There's a good example. Well, CVS Pharmacy might still be running that special where if you're a card member, you can get the Jethro T Boots for $8.99, which is a mimic more or less of Ancient Age. It might just be a rebrand of Ancient Age sold through CVS because it's coming from the same people, the founders company. In other words, Sazerac. All right. If I ever do this with this jacket on again, I want to make sure I change caps. Does that really matter? No, it does not. Do I still want to change the caps? Yes. Considering I got a lot, may as well wear them. Well, you know what this smells like? It smells like American whiskey. And you know what else? It has a little bit of char and a little bit of wood and a lot of T.W. Samuel. Oh, I'd love to try that T.W. Samuel straight bourbon because just the blended has a lot of bourbon qualities. I would imagine that the T.W. Samuel straight bourbon is going to really be a hidden gem, a gem, which I can't find. There's sweetness, there's dried flowers, there's caramel, there's the flavor the aroma generally associated with whiskey, as you would expect, but it's pretty pleasant. Okay. Bulls fan 2345. Forgive my ignorance, he says, but why does whiskey and bourbon mainly come from one geographic region? Oh, you mean like west of the Appalachian Mountains and east of the Mississippi River in Tennessee and Kentucky and Indiana? Well, that's a big corn growing area. Back in the 1700s, when the United States was first founded, they grew a lot of corn out there. Corn, corn, corn. Okay. There were no highways, United States highways, nor the modern interstate highways. They were trails, horrible trails, inadequate for most everything. So it's very difficult to ship the corn, whole corn, up, over, and down the Appalachian mountain chain into the 14 states with Vermont, formerly the colonies. You say they could take a river. No, the rivers all went west. The rivers on the East Coast go from the Appalachians east to the Atlantic. All these rivers, the Monongahela, Ohio, Tennessee, etc., flow west to the Mississippi and then south to New Orleans and into the Gulf. Well, what the corn farmers discovered was that they could take the corn, distill it into grain alcohol, and ship it as an alcoholic drink down the river to the Mississippi, down the river to the Gulf, and sell it all over the world for a very good profit. And that's where that whole thing developed in the 1790s. It did end up causing nearly a war with Spain, very nearly a war with France. But when France realized they could not win and they would not be able to hold on to Louisiana, they just cashed out. Right? You've won some money in the casino, get your money and get out. Napoleon cashed out, took the $15 million, which today would be an incredible amount of money, and got out of town with the money. The United States took over Louisiana, built the Port of New Orleans up into a modern facility on the U.S. government, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And then the bourbon industry just grew. All right, so we don't want to get too deep into it, but that's where all that comes from. All right. Cheers, Ron says Yorn. Cheers, buddy. Keep up the good work, says Adrenaline Drunkie. Good morning, everyone, says Spad. Good morning to y'all. All right. So the history is more fascinating in many ways than the actual product. And there was the Whiskey Rebellion, which you can read about. Had something to do with this. Now, this one is a lot cleaner in the nose. A lot cleaner. More straightforward. Oh, the game's coming. I can do this in 8 minutes, I'm sure. It's just corn, sweet corn, barrel, oak barrel, some light char, and think about bourbon, but just mellowed down, which might appeal to some people because some people don't like bourbon. They find the char is too much to take. Interesting, says Bulls fan. Thanks. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. I think that must be the Heaven Hill, the T.W. Samuels, because I recall the T.W. Samuels was oh so clean, and I recall the Bellows being oh so not so clean, a little more rough around the edges, but maybe a little more character. It is a year older, but that shouldn't make too much of a difference. Well, if you could just smell them, they'd be A1, 100% perfect products. But then, of course, you have to drink them. You don't buy these as an aroma enhancer for your house. So let's go with the flavor, shall we not? And I live very close to New Orleans, and New Orleans is extremely important. Is it a big city? Nah. 350,000 people, city limits, 1 million people in the surrounding area. Is it an important city? Yeah, for the port. If New Orleans stopped, if let's say all of a sudden all shipping through New Orleans stopped, rail and seabound or incoming from the sea, you would have a catastrophic effect. There would be a catastrophic effect on the United States economy within days. So New York City, the port of New Orleans and the port of South Louisiana and Los Angeles, these cannot close. This cannot happen unless you want starvation. We're talking about cataclysmic. So yeah, that's why when France was about to take over New Orleans again, Thomas Jefferson decided either they're going to sell it or we're going to war. I mean, there's no other. We're going to take it. I mean, this is Thomas Jefferson, the non-interventionist, the conservative who doesn't want to get involved in foreign affairs. That's what he was thinking. If France controls New Orleans, the United States collapses, and that ain't going to happen. So we're going to give them we're going to make them an offer they can't refuse, basically. And then France decided they said, yeah, we can see where this is going. So we'll sell all of Louisiana, not just the port. We'll sell the whole thing. Let's just get out. Just get out, which was a great idea. All right. You might say, that sounds like imperialism. You got it? Yeah, you caught on to that? All right. Oh my gosh, the second sip. Awa chihuahua. I taste melon. I taste melon. And what do we know when we taste honeydew melon? We think of what? Ding, 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 ding. You know what I'm talking about. Heaven Hill. See, you can learn some things here. Heaven Hill. You want to think of honeydew melon, you think of Helen Hill. Okay, Helen Keller. Helen Reddy. Should a whiskey taste like melon? I don't think so. Does Heaven Hill try to pretend they don't make blended whiskey? Yes. Are they embarrassed about it? Yes. Do they talk about it? Not much. Do they sell a lot of it? Yes. Not to mention Beam Suntory. They know what they're selling. They know what it is. They even laughed about it on their own video. The spokesman had to laugh about it. He's like, yeah, we sell it. He busted out laughing. But I mean, you know, it exists. Interesting. And then Tinger says, buoys. Okay, buoys. That's, you need buoys, whatever that is. All right. All right. Okay. We're getting close to that game. Oh, well, I knew what I was on to, and I got it. It's done. There's no way. It's impossible. There's no way. No way. You can watch all the rest of the taste challenges coming up for the next 2 weeks, or you can save a lot of time and don't watch them and just listen to what I'm going to say right now. Ronald wants to marry Grace Slick. Well, she's 80 years old almost, so I don't think I want to marry an 80-year-old. Now, this was 1969, 50 years ago. Different story. But I still wouldn't have wanted to marry her because even though with all the attractions, let's call it, there would have been a lot of detriments. Like, for instance, the fact that I would have no chance marrying her. All right, anyway, let's get back to planet Earth. I'm just joshing with you. Yeah, I know. I hope so. Because she even admitted I was bad. You know, I was bad. I was bad. All right. This is so obviously the Bellows Club whiskey. There's nothing like it. Now, did I say it was good? I didn't say it was good, but it's unique. Oh, I mean, I don't know. It's like minestrone soup or something. I said that because you are in love with Jefferson Airplane. I'm not in love with Jefferson Airplane. I've flown Jefferson Airplane. It gets you there on time. I've taken some trips on the airplane, Jefferson Airplane. They're interesting trips. If you want to fly Translove Airlines, that's a good option. Now, if you want to go even further, you can get on the Starship, which they got a new album coming out this year. I don't know what that's going to be like, but I know that Pete Sears joined up again with him. He's one of the old veterans from way back. Anyway, let's get off of that. Airplane, starship, same thing. All right, same thing with a different presentation. Oh, these are not the same thing with no kind of, this thing is so spicy. I don't know, did they go berserk and go insane? Tinger says, you're the man, bro, laugh out loud. Did they go mad? Thank you. Did they go mad and add way more hops? I mean hops. Ha ha ha. Rye, Rock and Roll Club for life. Yeah, Rock and Roll Club is the best Facebook club for rock music in the world. In the world. It's almost like Bellows went berserk and they said, let's go crazy. Let's go crazy. We're going to add rye, 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 rye. We're going to take a rye ride. Hard to say. I mean, I've never tasted, well, I mean, I've tasted rye whiskey, sure, of course, Sazerac rye, but this is like, why does this blended whiskey taste like a massive rye attack? It's crazy, man. Whereas this one tastes like, oh, you know, blended whiskey. Does it have a rye note? It certainly does at the end of the sip. So at the end of the sip, you get the spicy rye. And there might be wheat in there, kind of mellowing it out. I do believe there's wheat. Is there corn? Well, yeah, like 90%. You get the char, you get the wood, all these complex things. You say, no, not for $8.99. You're not going to get complexity for $8.99 in T.W. Samuels. Well, you do get all of that if you're not too busy being hung up and stuck up. You know, hung up and stuck up can mess you up. But there's no way you would confuse it with Bellows. Evan Williams is the best cheap bourbon, says Tinger. I would say yes and no. The green label is very fine. I love the Evan Williams green label charcoal filter. There's something about that. But then there's some other ones that could give it a good run for their money, good run for its money, like, you know, Ancient Age. So early times, I know, not a true bourbon because of the used barrels, but still like essentially a bourbon. So what about Benchmark, old number 8? Think about Benchmark. Don't forget Benchmark. All right. Barton, well, you know, Barton can't really do it. But all right. Challenge is over. That's it. That's it. This is Bellows. There's no way. It's impossible. So like I say, save yourself a lot of time. Don't watch the other taste challenges because there won't be any challenge. I mean, unless you just want to hear me talk about the whiskey, but there'll be no challenge. There's no way. It's impossible. No whiskey on the planet is going to taste like Bellows. Well, to me, that's a good sign. It's like it's so differentiated. I don't even know if it's a good taste. Honestly, does this whiskey taste good? I can't say that. But it certainly tastes like nothing I've ever had. So if you want something that's completely different than anything you've ever had, get the Bellows Club Whiskey. Unfortunately, you probably never find it. So there we go, Bellows Club Whiskey. Yep, BCW. There's no way. I mean, I'm shocked. Honestly, I'm rather shocked because Barton Brandy is awful, laugh out loud. Well, I've never had the Barton Brandy, but I've had Barton straight whiskey, bourbon whiskey, which I thought was all right. It was not great, kind of dull, not bad, just dull. Do I like gin? Yes, but I got to watch gin because they'll start saying things on internet that I shouldn't say. Like you know, like people might say something to me and I'll be like, nah, that was ugly, but I'll just let it go. I'll say, I'm drinking some whiskey. I'll let it go. I don't care. Say what you want. I don't care. And I don't. Honestly, I really don't care. But if I'm drinking the gin, the Seagram's Distiller's Reserve or the Seagram's Extra Dry or the Clubhouse Gin or any of those things, and don't even mention Crystal Palace Gin, Beefeater gin is delicious. I've heard that. But if I'm drinking gin and somebody says, I'd be like, what happened? So then gin is dangerous. I'll be saying, oh, okay, all right. I'll type some things here. I'm going to show you. And then I'll think later, oh, no, stay away from gin. All right. But anyway, the question of the hour is which one is better? So look, like I said, I can do 10 more challenges, never get them mixed up. That ain't going to happen. But which one's better? And that's an important question. All right. Yeah, kind of like Bacardi 151. Ooh, or the Ray and Nephew extra proof gin, extra proof rum. Oh, wow, 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 wow. I see it at Walmart. I'm so terrified to buy that. Bacardi 151. Ooh. Okay. I think that the Samuels, the TW Samuels, the calling card is mellow, 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 mellow. So if you like mellow whiskey, the Samuels is going to work. And I think that's why it's so popular in the Baton Rouge area and the Florida parishes. It's so very mellow and so very cheap. Yeah, it's like a mellow approximation of bourbon. So that works. Now the Bellows, well, it's just so different. Maybe I can see why they have a housefly on the label. It's such a gamey aroma and flavor. I think the houseflies would be attracted to it. No, not this. If you don't like rye, it would just gag you. I mean, if you hate rye whiskey, this is something to run from with no reservation. Just run, 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 and don't look back. Don't do like Lot's wife. But if you do like a high rye content, and I mean high, like really high, this could be something to check out, assuming you could ever find it, and chances are you won't. You have to live vicariously through my reviews, I guess. But whoo, whoa, whoa, that's scary, kids. Whoa, that is so. You hear it crashing. Toot, 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 toot. Oh, no, no. That is some rye attack. Ouch. Those guys are very insidious. They should have put that on the label in a big flash, like a boom, boom, chicka boom. Rye, rye, warning, rye. Oh, Hennessy. What is he saying? Hennessy is so overrated, way too expensive. Well, Hennessy, you can't say Hennessy is overrated because people love it. They buy it. It's part of that urban culture. But on the other hand, you can get Courvoisier, which is 2/3 of the price, and it's as good or better than Hennessy. That's the way things go. Hennessy caught the market, and they went, Hennessy, Hennessy. I'm drinking Hennessy. I'm drinking Hennessy. What you know about that? So and then Courvoisier is it's there. Is it as good as Hennessy? Yeah. Is it as well made as Hennessy? Yeah. Does it have the complexity of Hennessy? Yeah. But does it have the following? No. So I think Tinger's making a good point. In other words, that you could shop price and be very pleased with Courvoisier. And honestly, you could go to a liquor store like Dorgnac's and find some French brandy, not cognac, but French brandy, probably made more in Paris or northeastern France in Alsace-Lorraine, that kind of area, and get some French brandy, which is so much cheaper, has no advertising, like the Fleur de Lis, the VVSOP, the Fleur de Lis VVSOP brandy. You can get a pint, a whole, what do you call it, a liter for $15. And can it hang with Hennessy? I don't know if it can hang with Hennessy, but it sure is not going to get beaten up by Hennessy. So there's a lot of things out there you can experiment with, and you'd be so surprised. Okay, we got to close this out. Joseph Keene. Hello, Joseph Keene. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you watching. He says, have you had a chance to try Sagamore's rye from Baltimore, Kevin Plank's Under Armour rye? No, I've never even heard of it. Of course, I would try it. The only higher rye whiskey I've ever had from the Baltimore area is the Club 400, which is a blended whiskey. But boy, that thing is not up to the level of this Bellows, but it's got a lot of rye. And if you want to try an unusual Canadian blended whiskey that's bottled, and perhaps like Food Quig was saying, he thinks they're blended there, and he could be right. He's probably right. If you ever find it, get the Canadian Leaf. Canadian Leaf blended whiskey from Baltimore, Maryland at Majestic Distilling, Medley, not Medley, Monumental Distilling, Medley. Can't get Medley out of my head. That's Kentucky, sorry. Majestic or Monumental, right on that railroad track. A lot of whiskey people know what I'm talking about with Pikesville Rye. Ooh, Canadian Leaf, that's an underlier. You'd be shocked. Okay, well, we gotta end this. Oh, I gotta eat some spinach salad. True story. Saints versus Chargers in the Super Bowl. Nah, I got $100 says that will never happen. Ravens Bears Super Bowl. Nah, that's a dream. When's the Everclear review? Never. I'm still bummed about my Milwaukee Brewers. They played so good. You mean they played so well? Yeah, the Brewers. Well, but I think the Brewers could just go a little bit higher in 2019, and they could get that championship. Not saying they will, but it'd be nice. Club 400 is something else, says Joseph Keene. Monumental, right? Monumental. I'm joking about that in a little way, and I shouldn't be smarmy about it, because actually Monumental Brewing or Majestic Brewing today, it's called Majestic Brewing. No tours given. Although you might be able to just nonchalantly walk onto the property if you play it correctly. I didn't say that on the internet. Although it's probably true. Don't do that, please. I beg you not to do that. That's a very historic distillery. It goes back to the 1800s. There's something strange about that distillery. Everything coming out of there has this high rye content, and it's not like a fantasy in people's minds. If you drink that stuff, just go get Club 400. It's cheap as anything. You'll say to yourself, "Ooh, there is a high rye note. You can't get around it. It's there." I don't care what anybody says. It's there. Okay. So no, you got to show respect. You got to give respect where respect is due. Majestic Distilling, Monumental Distilling, that's no joke. People that make fun of that don't know their distilling history, you know. It's like if you start talking dog about Philadelphia. Well, by the way, they made great classic whiskeys in Philadelphia up until about 35 years ago. That's a long history of distilling in Philadelphia now. And they're east of the Appalachians, so think about that. All right, we're going to close it out. Monumental. Steve from Philly says it's only just begun, right? Karen Carpenter said that years ago. Joseph Keene says Brewers baseball is good, but they traded a lot of base runners away. Yeah, but if you notice, the National League teams are getting away from that base stealing. They're just going to power. All right, Tinger says, screw the Rams. Texans Thinking on it and drinking on it, says Steve from Philly. Robin Yount, still the best brewer ever. Robin Yount. Okay, shucks, all about the water. Tyler Mansell says, thumbs up. He's out there in Seattle, Washington. Tyler Mansell, what do you know about that? And I got news for you people. Tyler Mansell's about to ramp it up. It's about to get real, because I think my nose tells me Tyler Mansell's about to be back in the game on the beer reviewing circuit. And I hope that's true. I didn't go embarrass myself. All right. Well, so we've learned 2 lessons today. And the lessons are this. 1, you can get some pretty interesting whiskeys from various companies for under $10. Secondly, we learned that Bellows Club Whiskey has a very unusual high rye content, which is perplexing, to say the least. More women need a hairstyle like your daughter, says Tinger. Yeah, well, okay. Steve from Philly said, did you know that Karen Carpenter died from anorexia? Yeah, you could say that it was a heart attack related to anorexia, because she went mad. She went crazy. I guess she had underlying mental problems going back to young adulthood or younger. But unfortunately, it's terrible. I can't even talk about it. I won't talk about it. I can't handle it. But because I grew up with that. But Karen, she had some kind of obsession with her weight. I don't know. A lot of women are like that. I'm heavy. I'm heavy. I don't know where she was getting this information, because if you look at videos from 1969 to 74, she was anything but heavy. She was well figured. She had a nice figure, but she was obsessed, mad, crazy about her figure, which to me was fine. You know, looked like a normal woman, but I don't know. She went insane, like literally insane, where you don't grasp reality. And she's looking in the mirror and saying, "Look at this hog," and everybody else is saying, "Hog? You mean this concentration camp survivor?" So in 1974, she got this, and she had already been dieting to a bit of a troubling extent. But in 1974, she said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to lose weight," and took about 10 years to, not that long. She didn't live that long, but close to a decade to kill herself. Was it done on purpose? No. Did she want to die? No. But she was mad. She went mad. And if you look at the interviews, if you can take them, I can't tolerate it. I can't watch it. From 1980, 80, 81, 82, where they're saying, if you watch those interviews, it's a terrible example of denial. They're saying, do you have anorexia? And she's saying, no, what are you talking about? And she's denying it, and her brother's looking like, oh Lord, why'd they bring this up? But horrible, 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 horrible. And I had a first cousin that had this, so I know from firsthand experience that it's a nightmare. It's a female disease. You have some male homosexuals that have it, but it's a female disease, not a disease. A disease is something you catch. It's a female psychiatric condition, right? It's not a physical condition. But anyway, all right, enough of that. Horrible. It's epic. And then Steve from Philly says, you should have drank some hams. Well, I have hams coming up for the Wild Card Wednesday. Joseph Keene says, Mob Town Brewing Company will change a lot of stuff from Baltimore. Pay close attention. You're the best. Do it. Laissez le bon temps rouler. Well, I'll be looking for Mobtown if it shows up in Louisiana. Tinger says most 60s and 70s rock musicians were anorexic and on cocaine 24/7. I think a lot of them were on cocaine. David Bowie is a perfect example. He was thin as a rail, and he was living on cocaine and apparently chili peppers and thin milk. He had a lot of problems. Grace Slick said that she said, well, and if you read all her interviews, which I've done, she said, well, I was mostly a drinker, she said, well, you think I hadn't drank a lot, but then she would wake up the next morning and say, well, I did drink a bottle of scotch last night, so maybe I drank too much. So her side interests were drugs, but she said, if you read her interview, she said, oh, cocaine, that's bad. You sniff some and you want to run around the block 57 times. So she said cocaine was like, she didn't like it. And she had this long fingernail on her right hand, I guess, and she would scoop it up. She said, I didn't like it. It was, and John Lennon said the same thing. Cocaine was bad, 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 bad. He said you'd snort cocaine and you'd be like, and you grit your teeth, and it was bad. He said, I didn't like that stuff. That was very mendacious, I guess you'd call it. Okay. Man, you know a lot about a lot. And Steve from Philly says, man, you know a lot about a lot. Well, I read a lot. By the way, this is good content. Don't run yet. This is great, says Joseph Keene. A mental disorder, a mental illness, says Tinger. I'm surprised Ozzy is still alive. Yeah, well, he has a constitution that's stronger than iron and lead. Joseph Keene says, so were the 1980s metal? Think about Kickstart My Heart by Motley Crue. The 1980s were not metal. Well, they were not heavy metal. They were light metal. They were tinfoil. Hair metal, not heavy metal. The only thing heavy about the 80s was nothing. Steve from Philly says, if everyone was only as disciplined as you, I don't know how you do it. Drink here, drink there, never more than a review. Amazing. I know it is amazing. I kind of amaze myself in a way. I'm like Paul McCartney. Maybe I'm amazed, but Joseph Keene says, cocaine slows everything down, but you feel fast. Ha ha, tinfoil. Well, I can only comment on what these cocaine users say, right? Like John Lennon said, he didn't like cocaine because he said you'd be like, like you wanted to grit your teeth. And I've heard other people say that. I wouldn't want to sit there gritting my teeth, Grace Slick said you snort it and then you want to run around the block 57 times. That doesn't sound too promising. So yeah, cocaine is, does it have legitimate uses? Yeah, ask a dentist. Go to your dentist and say, does cocaine have legitimate uses? Yes. Was cocaine helpful in the development of Coca-Cola? Yes. Every illegal drug you can think of has a legitimate use, but it's used in an inappropriate manner. Okay, let's see that. Oh, Lord, they're getting on to all of this. We got to get off of this. Oh, man. 1990s, grunge started the death metal decline. Black death metal and black metal originated in the 80s. Yeah. But we know all that. John Lennon was the LSD magician. Well, John Lennon said that he ate LSD 1,000 times, but he got bored with it. He said it was just like, kind of like, nah. And Grace Slick said the same thing. LSD was okay in a certain context. But then she said the context became very vapid, or it was like that. But she said, She was really into Quaaludes, which I would never. I'm not into drugs. I've never taken drugs. Lennon, okay, Death, Possessed, Cannibal Corpse all came from around 1986, says Bucky Dent. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I remember all that. But I wasn't buying that. In 1986, I was buying Adam Hart Mother. I don't remember. Heroin, now that's pure evil. Heroin is not evil, Dean. Heroin is a legitimate medicine, a medicine. But it is pure evil when you're using it as a recreational drug. You'll be going down quick if you do that. Oh, by golly, by golly. Joseph Keene says, what was the end result between Bellows Club and Samuel, T.W. Samuels? I missed that. Tinger says, Guns N' Roses. Ah, there's a cautionary tale about drug abuse. Well, to sum it up, people say sum it up. With this video, yeah, right, sum it up. You heard what I said? Well, I would say that if you want a cheap whiskey that is mellow and doesn't have any rat. Oh, yeah, I actually saw Rat live in 1985 at the Baton Rouge Metroplex, and I saw them for free. I got a free ticket. I didn't even want to go. My cousin said, do you want to go see Rat and Bon Jovi? The answer would have been no. But you understand, my cousin is very paranoid about driving and parking. And I'm like a past master of driving and parking. I have this talent to drive to any city and park for free to a baseball game. It's bizarre, but I can do it. So he knew I was going to find a free parking spot because that's what I do in life. So, and then he wanted me to drive because he's scared to drive anywhere. So he called me and said, you want to go to Rat and Bon Jovi? Well, the answer was, well, no. But he's begging, you know, so, all right, I'll go. So we went to Rat and Bon Jovi. Did I enjoy it? I mean, I have the ticket stub. I mean, I went. There was a lot of girls screaming. I mean, I went. Okay. Beer is a technical term for whiskey wash. Okay. So, haha, Bon Jovi. White Sox, your favorite? Yeah, the White Sox. All right. All right. We got things are getting so crazy. All right. T.W. Samuels is good for a mild, nondescript, mellow bourbon style whiskey. And it is bourbon style because you could fool some people, not a whole lot, but yeah, it smells like bourbon. All right. So it's, and funny, if you get on some whiskey sites where you can order whiskey, they'll call it a bourbon, but it ain't. In England, they might call it a bourbon. I don't know. Bellows. Well, this is a much more exotic product. Now, this is not for the weak at heart, because the faint at heart, because it's no. It's very rye oriented. So I don't know if you don't live in Baltimore, Maryland, or the Baltimore, Maryland area, and I don't, it might really throw you for a loop. So I'd be very cautious about the Bellows. But who's the winner? I think he's asking who's the winner. Well, there is no winner. It's a personal preference issue. In my case, being weak and scary, I would prefer the T.W. Samuels. But for those who relish in adventure, yeah, Bellows is going to have a lot more adventurous aspects to it. Tinger says, White Sox, your favorite? Yes, I've been to at least 11 White Sox home games, including the 2009 perfect game with, who's the pitcher? You remember him. Starts with a B. You know what I'm talking about. Perfect game. Greatest sporting event I've ever been to. And I got a $55 ticket for $10 on the street. True story. Mark Burley. All right. Ron, have you ever listened to Ghost? Yeah, unfortunately. Because there's a guy on Rock and Roll Club that is insistent to post Ghost every day of his life. No, he doesn't do it every day, but he does it a lot. They claim to be Satanists. I'm not into Satanism and all that. I mean, I don't even want to go into that area because that would be another 2-hour video, and they're a bunch of nitwits. But you said their music sounds like a cross between Blue Oyster Cult and 80s arena rock. I agree with that. I agree with the music aspect. Yes. Tinger says, shout out to the Tulane Greenway football team. You're right. They had a winning season. Steve from Philly says, have you ever been? All right. Now Steve's either high on coke or just showing his true colors. He's being a troll. He says, is the earth flat or round? Is the earth flat or round? It's both. It's flat and round. I think you could just look around and see that. Joseph said, this has turned into an AMA, American Medical Association. All right, blah, blah, blah. We're out of here. What did we prove today? Not a lot, but we proved that Bellows Club Whiskey is bizarre. I think that's the best description. The flavor is not necessarily good, but it's bizarre.